Thank you, Michelle, and welcome everyone to this webinar. My name is Mohsen Imam, and I'll be talking you guys through some of the differences between the standard edition of Google Apps and the Premier edition. And after that, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we in the SMV team position the Premier edition and sell it, against the standard, and we try to qualify the customers and all that. So that'll be the next section, but right now I'm going to begin with just giving you an overview of standard versus Premier. On this slide, you'll see some of the general differences. I'm going to talk through them, and over the next 4 slides, I'm going to dive a little deeper into some of the specific differences in messaging, collaboration, some business differences, and even talk about security differences between standard and Premier. First and foremost, of course, standard is free, as most of you all know, and the Premier edition costs $50 per user per year. That's a huge difference. That's the one most customers will be coming to you guys with. They really want to understand why Premier edition costs $50 per user per year when they're getting a lot of the same applications in the standard edition. And you'll see pretty soon what are the advantages of Premier edition. The next big differentiator, I think, is really the user maximum. This is where you can really qualify a lot of customers and really upsell them on Premier edition. Standard edition has a limit of 50 users max. That means, even if a company has 51, they're not just going to pay for that one user, the $50 per user. They have to pay for all 51 users. And there's just no way to up that limit. Some old customers have been grandfathered into it, so they might come to you and say that they've seen customers in the field who have more than 50 standard edition users, but that's almost up until last year. That's what was possible, but it's not possible anymore. So that's an easy way to qualify customers. The other thing, I'll talk about some of the other differences as well, and I'll show how you can actually upsell them, even if they're not 50 users. Some of the other differences, this is going to come up often. They need interoperability with Outlook, with mobile devices, be able to use BlackBerry. That's another huge differentiation. Premier edition allows you that kind of interoperability. That is not possible with the standard edition. Another huge thing is reliability. With Premier edition, we are offering 99.9% uptime SLA. You're not getting that with the standard edition. That's a huge selling point. And another critical point is the 24/7 phone support that we provide for Premier edition customers. You do not get that kind of support with standard edition. With standard edition, you will not even have phone support. You will not see any number in your control panel. The only way standard edition customers can get support is through email. With that, let me dive into some of the specifics and start with messaging. So on this slide, we're talking about the messaging components like Gmail and also some interoperability specifics. Storage is a huge thing. Like we all know, we are bombarded with a lot of amount of information, and a lot of users have, come back to me and specifically asked about being able to upgrade storage, especially if they're on standard edition. 7 gigabytes sounds like a lot, but when you're not deleting a lot of email, that fills up pretty fast, and that's why a lot of people opt for Premier edition just because of storage. And specifically when you're a business user, another concern that you might have is around ads. People don't want to see ads in Google Apps, and that's another selling point for the Premier edition. Specifically going into some of the other enterprise level functionality, business critical features, we're talking about email delegation and retention policies. You will not see these in the standard edition. These are only available in the Premier edition, and so are some of our integration tools, migration tools, and APIs. All the advanced tools that typical Premier edition customer sees are not available with the standard edition. What this means is you're not able to integrate a standard edition instance, with your Active Directories. You're not able to do things like single sign-on and a lot of other advanced integrations with your existing systems. And most importantly, you're not able to sync with Microsoft using our new Google Apps Sync for Microsoft Outlook. That is not possible with the standard edition. An important feature in calendars, the resource scheduling, even that's not available with the standard edition. With that, let me move on to the collaboration applications and talk about some of the differences over there. Most importantly, one of the biggest differences is in sites, where we are offering only 10 gigabytes per domain as opposed to Premier Edition, where the storage quota is variable based on the number of users that you have. We give an initial 10 gigabytes per domain and then an additional 500 megabytes per user. By the way, all of the storage is actually pooled together to form quota for the whole site for your domain, and it's not individual quota. You can see some of the other differences as well. We don't, again, it relates back to the lack of availability of APIs and integration tools. So you won't be able to do things like sites, private gadgets, even private gadgets and docs. What that means is you won't be able to create gadgets that feed off of information from within your internal systems if you're using standard edition. You won't be able to create those kind of gadgets. With Premier Edition, of course, that is possible. And then, another tool that we recently released, Google Apps Script, even that is not available with the standard edition. And, most business users are interested in things like analytics for documents and sites, where they can tell, how their applications are being used. They want to know that, if they do a recent release of a memo company-wide, how many people have actually read that memo, read that document. And so those kind of things are possible through analytics, which is not available on standard edition either. As you'll see, a lot of things that I'm talking about relate to, business use of Google Apps. If email communication and collaboration is important for businesses, they will want to choose the Premier Edition. And as far as Google Video is concerned, this is our tool, the internal tool for video sharing within your company. This is not available with the standard edition. We are offering 3 gigabytes per user in the Premier Edition for video storage when it comes to Google Video for your business. Let me move on and talk about some other important business features that a lot of our customers ask for. So on this page, you'll see these are things that a typical enterprise would like to implement, even in the small and medium business market. They'd like to be able to sync with their Active Directories, with their LDAP systems, be able to provision automatically using provisioning APIs, and use some of these other APIs. And as you can see, except for the OpenID API, none of them are available with the standard edition. The secure data connector at the very bottom, that's actually relating to the ability to create those private gadgets that I was talking about that you can then embed within Gmail and Calendar. That's really, some of the things that, as you have a growing business, you really want to be able to use these APIs to automate a lot of the things that, administrators have to do manually. And again, that's where, you'll see that these tools are available only on the Premier Edition. Let me move on to the security differentiators. A huge difference when it comes to spam filtering, virus filtering, content filtering. We have included with our Premier Edition the tools that we acquired from Postini, the spam filtering solution. We have bundled it completely free of cost with the Premier Edition. It's not available with the Standard Edition. What this means specifically, even though a lot of customers will come to you and tell you that, they're happy with Gmail's spam filtering solution. They don't have a lot of control over setting those spam filtering policies. With Postini's Google Message Security that is included with the Premier Edition, they are able to set a lot of policies about how harsh or how strict they want spam filtering. They can set up more configuration controls between different groups within the company. They can have one group be more lenient when it comes to spam and another one more harsh. They can set up content filtering policies like, we don't want Excel files coming or leaving the system. They can check for social security numbers. They can do compliance footers for all outgoing email. So there's a lot of additional functionality that they're getting with the Premier Edition by the addition of this one tool, the Postini Google Message Security. Some other security features are the forced SSL that's on Premier Edition, and also the single sign-on API, again, making it, leaving the authentication of users up to the company, making it more secure. You're not just authenticating against Google anymore. And we also have some additional features like the ability to create custom password strength settings. That's also now available with the Premier Edition. So overall, these are just some of the key differentiators. And, as you can see, if you have been working with Google for some time, you'll know that, we started off with very few differences between Standard and Premier. And we are continuing to really differentiate this product. And I'll talk a little bit more about that over the next few slides as I move into talking about selling in the field and positioning against the Standard Edition. So over here, this is basically talking more about Google's motivation for these two editions and, why do we have them. The thing with the Standard Edition is we really created it and to be suited for things like, if you have a small club, a soccer club or something for families, sports teams, people who are not really business users of email, but they need those kinds of, those kinds of tools. That's what Standard Edition was really created for. And that's why you'll see all the business critical applications and needs that, you'd see in your customers. Those are satisfied with the Premier Edition. Again, just to remind you, some of the critical ones are the 99.9% uptime SLA. That is really important. That's what you can really sell on. And, just the interoperability, the security controls, the advanced APIs, integration with their existing systems, that's very important for a lot of these Premier customers. And so is the support options, the ability to be able to call in if something goes wrong. That's what IT administrators need. So in the next slide, I'm actually going to talk a little bit about, how we in the SMB market have been going around, trying to sell Premier Edition. The first thing that we do when we talk to customers is we try to really qualify and try to get some of those main pain points that businesses have to really establish why they should go for Premier Edition. We ask questions like, retail, what kind of an industry are you guys in? We really try to figure out, are you guys, is email critical to your business? Are you a retail business or are you a business that is like manufacturing, for instance, where maybe you don't have those information workers? You'd have a hard time selling them on Premier when a lot of their employees are actually not information workers and are manufacturing workers who are working in the field. It's very hard to sell to those people. But if you are, working with a company that is involved in services, that has, a large sales group, you can easily make the case for Premier Edition where they need those business critical things where email is very critical to them. Size of the organization, again, of course, if they say that, their size of their company is 51, it's very easy to just upsell them on Premier. However, even if they say that, there are, 35, 40 employees in the company, I usually ask them, how fast are you guys growing? Do you anticipate that, over the course of next year or so, you're going to grow to more than 50? And the way budgets work in a lot of companies, you don't want a situation where you grow to more than 50 and have to then, find out that you don't have the budget to actually move into Premier Edition. So there's a lot of things that you can do to even companies that are not 50 employees to push them into the Premier Edition. Ask them about their interoperability requirements. Do they want to use Outlook, mobile devices? Do they want to be able to upgrade and use things like Postini spam filtering? So, someone asked a question about, can they upgrade to Postini or not? And the answer to that is that for inbound filtering, they might potentially be able to do that. But Postini has a lot of other tools like, outgoing compliance footers and even outgoing spam filtering, outgoing content filtering. That will not be possible if you're using the standard edition. So in most cases, it's not possible to use the integrated Postini solution at all with the standard edition. And I also, sometimes talk about, what are the technical skill sets of your IT department. And the reason I ask that is I'm trying to get them to, if they're not a huge company and, if they don't have the expertise to install this, I'd usually try to tell them, hey, you have to go with a partner who can assist you in deploying the solution. And, the partner can assist you, but in most cases, they will not be able to work with you. They will not be able to do a lot of integration work for you if you're not on Premier Edition. That is also something that we try to move a lot of our customers to, with the hope that our partners are also working on upselling them to the Premier Edition. And most importantly, our organization hardly provides any kind of sales support at all to companies less than 50. I mean, it's pretty much we are focused on, we usually offer just email support to them. So in most cases, even just to go through this whole process, they do have to consider going with the Premier Edition. So those are some of the things that we do over here within the Google sales department to try to upsell them on Premier. And again, it's not that we want everyone just to go into Premier, but like I said, if you're an organization, if you're a business, we do want you to be using Premier instead of using Standard, which was really meant for clubs, smaller organizations, maybe a nonprofit. With that, I'm actually going to hand it over to Daniel Jeffries, who's we're very fortunate to have him. He's going to talk about how they've been positioning Standard versus Premier.
Actually, Mohsen, before we hand it over to Daniel, we had a couple of questions that I was hoping you could address.
Sure. So let me go through some of these questions. So there was a question about, if I opt into ads with Premier, can I generate income like with AdSense for content? That is not possible. So, there is no, you can't use that as kind of a carrot for customers to move into Premier. We do not share revenues that are generated out of Google Apps ads. Another question is about, there was a question about, is Postini an upcharge? We offer the spam filtering that is included with Google Apps. That the spam filtering portion of Postini is included free with the Premier Edition. You can upsell them further on the archiving part of Postini. That is not included. But when it comes to Standard Edition, you cannot upsell them on the Postini product. Postini product was not developed with a solution like Standard Edition, and one of the reasons for that is Standard does not allow you to specify an outgoing SMTP server, so it will not work very well with the Postini solution. And then there was a question about mobile email not being in standard. So we do support POP and IMAP for Gmail. So when I was talking about interoperability with mobile devices, what I was specifically talking about was, you won't be able to have things like syncing of calendars, contacts, and email like you can with some of the things like we have created for the BlackBerry, like the connector service for BlackBerry. You won't have that available with the standard edition. You can get IMAP and POP email on some mobile devices for sure, but you won't have the push email like you do with ActiveSync that's available only on the Premier edition. So there are huge, differences between what we can offer to Premier and what's available through the standard edition.
Okay, thanks, Mohsen. I want to do a quick time check. We're almost halfway through, so I want to make sure we have time for Daniel and for Anil to present. So, Daniel, I'm going to turn presentation controls over to you.
Thanks, Michelle. All right. Let's see here. Okay, great. Well, it's great to be here. Thanks, Michelle, for having me, and Mohsen. That was a great overview. It's good to see people on the attendees list that I know from the forums or from meeting in person. Tom, Philip, Martin, David. Glad we can all be here. See, I want to talk about just kind of our experiences in selling Premier versus Standard, and I think I'll just jump right in here. Just a little bit of background on us and where we're coming from. We're a small firm. We're based in Michigan, but we're doing business with a lot of different companies, doing a lot of work remotely for them, and companies of all sizes. In our previous life, we were kind of a pretty traditional hourly consulting company, so we have clients from that life, as well as since we've kind of transitioned to a SaaS specialty, we have clients from that life as well. Let's see, our experience with Google Apps, we started early, 2007, and we've really kind of built up an experience there. And the team, Ryan and Steve are probably on the call. They're great guys. They're part of our team, and as well as all the other new minders out there. What do we offer? We really tried to build a whole scope of services, and a lot of the SaaS services really around apps, because apps, email is the killer application, and that's where a lot of people kind of start as their linchpin. Then you've got the collaboration tools that are within apps, and we've really tried to add to that some storage services, some additional security offerings, single sign-on, that sort of stuff, as well as just the managed services type services that we were offering before. Really focusing on SaaS as a specialty for our company, and we've recently been developing really niche solutions around apps, packaging apps with a couple of other key pieces so that financial services who have regulatory compliance issues and security issues can use those. So that's kind of just to set some levels, help you understand where we're coming from, and we'll jump right in here to how we talk to prospects about Standard versus Premier. So really the key for us is that the services around Standard, there's just not a lot of good ways to offer services around Standard. So we really, when we're talking to clients, when we're positioning with those prospects, we're talking about the fact that, the support that's available, the APIs, all those different things, it's a lot. They're kind of, the way we kind of say it in plain terms is, if you want to kind of be on your own, do it yourself, Standard's for you. If you're going to need, assistance and support and all those things, you know, Premier is really what's for that. It's for business. We also explain the terms of service differences. If you haven't yet, I would encourage you to read all the way through. I know I'm not a lawyer, but there's some really interesting things in there. Read all the way through the Premier terms of service. Read all the way through the standard terms of service. Read all the way through the Gmail terms of service even. And there's things there that can help you when talking to people and help them understand really the differences there. Of course, we explain, you know, Mosen kind of covered this. We explained that Premier is really designed for business. Standard is designed for individuals, clubs, and, you know, other organizations. And, you know, generally, serious business folks, you know, they want something that's made for them. They don't want to kind of shoehorn something together. And, you know, folks that are maybe not serious about their business, are not as serious, or kind of maybe penny wise and pound foolish, will try and, you know, use something that's really not designed for the purpose. So I really try and highlight that, you know, Premier, designed for the purpose, designed for your business. Obviously, explaining the feature differences, which Mosen covered very well, is key in that process. And then also talking about the SLA. You know, you really want to, you know, bet your business. Email is key for almost every business out there. You really want to bet your business on, you know, a product that, you know, you got for nothing, and, you know, arguably is, you know, you don't really have like a business agreement or a contract of any kind with a provider that says they have to keep providing that product to you. So, you know, the SLA is very important. You know, and the 99.9% uptime, you know, really helps people to, you know, to feel safer. So moving on, what's the key to our strategy when we're talking about standard versus Premier? I'll just pause to say I think it's pretty great when one of your biggest competitors is yourself. It's great from the standpoint that it speaks to the quality of the product. You know, when, you know, it's just a question between these two products, not necessarily a question between us and a competitor. And it's a great path that if people do standard, they're much more likely to come back if you talk to them and upgrade to Premier when they, you know, go over that 50 mark or whatever. So what's the key? The key for us is when clients come to us and they want our help and our support to deploy, to move from one to the other, we just tell them, you know, standard is a do-it-yourself product. We don't support it at all. So we can't, you know, help you deploy on it. We just can't provide training on it. We can't provide anything. If you need help, you need to go to Premier. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, we found that people that want to be on standard are not likely to buy services. And that's where our profit really comes from. So, you know, we don't really want to spend our time with clients that maybe aren't a good fit for us. We've also found that, you know, if someone's willing to bet their business on standard, that says something about how they run their business, right? You know, they're more likely to demand lots and lots of resources from us and not generate equivalent revenue. So, you know, you may have experiences with sort of headache issues with customers that don't understand that, you know, for a vendor-customer relationship to be successful, you know, you both have to win. And, you know, clients that just want to sort of milk you for your resources and for your knowledge and not pay for any of it are really just going to drag down your business. And so we want to be, we don't want to be attractive to those clients at Newline. And then, you know, a big reason is, you know, we are really working towards automating our business to help people to deploy, help people to provision, help people to integrate with other third-party services, and that requires the APIs. And so our efficiency is going to be completely destroyed if we start offering support for standard, because we'll have to come up with a whole separate list of procedures that doesn't use the APIs. Our automation tools that require the APIs will not work. And so what that would result in is a whole bunch of work on our part and higher prices. So the simplicity, I think, is what really helps us in that, you know, customers want to talk to us about standard, and it's really simple. We don't support standard. You're on your own. If you need services, you know, Premier is, we support Premier, and we can put you on Premier. All right. And finally, just talking about, you know, kind of what have we seen. We talked about where we're coming from. We talked about our strategy in the marketplace. What have we seen using that strategy? What we've seen is around 10% of the prospects that contact us choose standard over Premier for whatever reason. They're usually very, very small, have very, very low volume. You know, they are just small enough that standard works for them, and, you know, that's fine. And then, you know, really the other things that we see are the reasons that people choose Premier. When they do, the two main reasons are that, you know, they need that support. They need us to help them deploy. They need us to help them provision. They need us to support their operations there because they don't have in-house IT, or the in-house IT is just got too much on their plate. And the other main reason is, you know, the Outlook sync support is really a key as a ramp for people that are kind of stuck in, you know, update hell and all of those things that people want to get out of, but yet they have users that are very resistant to moving away from the traditional kind of models for those things. So those are really the two key things that, you know, when you're talking to people, you know, they're the two things to talk about, because that's usually what most people are, you know, is the linchpin for their decision to choose Premier over standard in our experience. And, you know, I think that's it. I don't see any questions. Let's see. I don't see any questions. You're welcome.
Daniel, sorry, I just assigned you one that maybe we can address, okay, and then we'll move on to Neil because we only have about 25 minutes left.
Okay, great. Okay, can you give us a sense of pricing models that you have had success with? Sure, I can. I see a lot of different pricing models out there. Where we're really positioned is to provide a high quality of service to, you know, that mid-size or small, you know, I say mid-size. It's not actually mid-size in the overall scheme of the sizes, but when you're talking about, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 user accounts, we're really positioned there to provide a high quality of service to those clients that want a high quality of service. You know, we've got engineers, you know, Ryan and Steve, myself, and others that really know the product really well, and they're going to work directly with the client. They're going to have a relationship with the client. Client's not going to get passed around to 10 or 20 people. You know, that's a big deal. So with that, our pricing tends to be quite a bit higher than what you see on the marketplace. You know, and really it's based on our costs, and, you know, we're committed to that quality level, and we get, you know, high quality engineers at a cost that, you know, is sustainable for us, and then that determines our pricing. So we really determine our pricing from the bottom up. It's got to be high quality, and here's our price. And it's really evolving. We're really iterating on our own pricing model, so I would hesitate to commit to, you know, here's the pricing model that's working for us. We've iterated on it, and we'll continue to iterate on it, but I would say keep it simple. Give people, you know, gold, silver, bronze, and don't give them too much wild choice, and people like that. Hope that answered the question. You're welcome to contact me offline. I've got my contact information there. I love talking to other resellers and collaborating, and there's actually plenty of people here in the attendees list that I've already talked to and collaborated with in the past, so you're welcome to contact me.
Great, thanks, Daniel. So I'm going to turn it over now to Anil, who's going to talk to us about how you can upload and share any file type with Google Docs.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everyone. Over the next, I guess, Michelle, I've got about 20 minutes. Is that right?
You have about 20 minutes. It'd be great if we can leave about 5 minutes at the end for Q&A.
Okay. So I've got a bit of material to cover, so I'm going to fly through this relatively quickly. And then, for the sake of time, why don't we leave questions till the end? And, of course, more than happy to talk with any of you offline if there are particular questions that we don't address today. But the point of the next 15 minutes that I want to talk about is really a new capability that we launched in Google Docs, upload any file. Now, for those of you who've been following apps, you know that Google Docs has really been about sharing and collaboration of content. And we like to think that we've done quite a bit in terms of moving people in the direction of it's okay for multiple people to actually edit the same spreadsheet at the same time. And in fact, it's better in terms of productivity and helping people actually engage in a collaborative environment. In the same way, it should be intuitive and easy to share documents, presentations, spreadsheets with a single click to people without having to worry about checking in, checking out files, and having a single source of truth living in the cloud. We've launched a number of capabilities in the last 6 months. You've probably seen that we launched shared folders, so the ability to create folder structures within your Google Docs account and then share that entire folder to groups of people. The ability to upload multiple files into Google Docs so that you could do it in one big flow, pick 20 docs from a folder and upload them in one shot. And of course, viewing of key content within our Google Docs viewer, files like PDFs and PowerPoint files, actually being able to get real high fidelity access to viewing them directly in the browser without having to download them and launch the native app. And what we just launched a couple of weeks ago is actually the ability to upload any type of file into Google Docs. And the reason we did this was that we saw a number of challenges both at the organizational level and at the user level. At the organizational level, we noticed that people were maintaining and supporting these large file share systems that had expensive costs around storage, administration, IT management, and that these systems didn't allow these files to easily be shared with clients or vendors externally outside of the organization, but also securely within the organization. And on the user side, what we found was people were actually taking these files that they wanted to work on and they were emailing them to themselves, to their personal accounts, so that they could go home, work on those files, and then send it back to themselves when they got back to the office. They were trying to email attachments that were up to 30, 50, 100 megs, 200 megs in size, and obviously limitations across the board are typically 5 or 10 megs in size. Gmail provides you a generous 25 megs, but even then those limitations were being hit. And the organization side and the sharing side was difficult. So what we decided to do was provide our cloud mechanism and everything around sharing and collaboration we do with Google Documents, spreadsheets, and presentations, but now extend it to any file type. And I do literally mean any file type. If it's got ones and zeros, if it's a binary file, if it's any type of file, you can upload it and share it within Google Docs. Every user gets 1 gigabyte of quota in Google Docs. So no matter who you are, you have a gig of quota, and you can also share and upload files up to a gig in size. So if you have massive files that need to be shared, you can upload those and share them across your organization as well as externally. And again, this addresses some of the key things we want to talk about around uploading, around sharing and collaborating, around accessing that content, and then being able to search for it. I'll quickly kind of give a little bit more background on those things. The access side is really important as you're positioning this to potential customers and existing customers, that really this is the idea that from any computer anywhere in the world that you'll have access to this content. The press around this launch had a lot of great comments around, rest in peace for thumb drives. And this was really the end of needing to carry around thumb drives, because you would put something on the thumb drive, you'd get on a plane, people back at the office would want to edit and make last-minute comments. You would get to your location, the files you would have would be out of date, maybe you lost your thumb drive on the plane. Now you have a simple way that everyone can edit the same information, get access to it no matter where they are. You don't need to email attachments to yourself anymore. The ability to collaborate, so you don't need to send around multiple emails, and providing a very simple interface to be able to get access to the information and collaborate, but an advanced one as well to be able to really take advantage of the collaboration features of Google Docs organizing things from documents, images, to rich media. And finally, Google, of course, is well known for its power of search, and we really want to move this paradigm to document management as well, that says, yes, it's important to maintain a folder structure and organization, but sometimes you don't remember where you put that folder, or sometimes you don't remember where, what the name of it was. And you should be able to just simply say, oh, you know, I think this person was the person who edited it, or I know that the content of the document contained these 3 interesting keywords. And Google should be able to provide you with that top result being the document that you're looking for. And we believe that we've done quite a bit to get us there. So these are the real key messages around this: the ability to access it, the ability to share and collaborate, and the ability to easily search. So what are some of the use cases? Well, we've seen a lot from organizations we've talked to before launching and even in the last couple of weeks around external sharing. So when salespeople within an organization are interested in sharing contracts with clients or RFPs with vendors, or they're interested in having legal contracts being shared with other parties, being able to easily do this in a secure fashion. Architects sharing schematics with their construction firms, a web developer sharing graphics files, or even things at the club or PTA level, sharing within a group internally of their organization. Anything that you want to be able to share and collaborate on, you now have no longer the email attachment limits or the thumb drive issues. You really can share and collaborate on any type of file using Google Docs as the back end. For our Premier customers, we talked a lot today about specific capabilities for Premier that were unique. Here's another key one that we launched with this functionality, is that if you're a Premier customer, you have access to the Google Documents List Data API. And that's going to let you do things like manage permissions across your users and monitor what type of files are being stored and shared outside the domain. So again, your customers can say things like, well, I like this feature, but I want to make sure that my organization isn't storing MP3 files up there. No problem. You can use the API to run scripts to actually be able to monitor that, and if necessary, actually pull those files down or change the permissions on them. And then organizations can build applications on top of the API to upload, update, and delete files from Google Docs in batch, or they can use partner solutions that we've actually made available. 3 companies have launched. Many more are coming along the way. But the 3 that we've highlighted is a product called Memio Connect for Google Apps, a product by a company by the name of Simplicity, and another one by the name of ManyMoon. The Memio Connect product is probably the most interesting one for your customers in that it's really a desktop sync client. It works on Mac and PCs, and it provides, again, Premier Edition customers to do data migration, so drag and drop folders into your Google Docs account, and it'll go through the folder as well as the subfolders, get access to all those files no matter where you are, work while you're offline, so those files are downloaded locally so you can make changes, and of course sync across multiple computers. You can get more information at the Memio Connect website. Another product is from a company by the name of Simplicity, an expert really in the backup and sync area, and they offer a similar set of functionality around being able to sync your documents and files into Google Docs in real time and being able to synchronize them across different machines. And finally, ManyMoon is completely different. It's actually an online project management company. It's a software as a service application that lets you share and track projects, and in integration with Google Docs, they're now letting you import and share documents with your Google Docs account and be able to log in security, be able to get access to that information directly from the ManyMoon interface. Again, these are just 3 of the people that have built products on top of this, but there's lots of really interesting, exciting things that are being built on top of the API to leverage this new functionality in Google Docs. On the pricing front, as we discussed, every user gets 1 gigabyte for free. And for businesses, they can purchase additional storage at the following prices in this table. We are selling them in tiers, so 5 gigs will go for about $17 a year, 20 gigs for $70, $80 for $280. These are per user per year, and they obviously provide the capabilities around SLA, 99% uptime, 24/7 phone support, the API, the third-party apps like the Memio Connect application, and so forth. You'll see that these prices are, in fact, incredibly competitive with respect to other enterprise-type storage solutions out there. They typically range anywhere from sort of $6 to $10 a month, and we're in the range of about $3.50 a year. So it's a pretty significant value add that we're able to provide to our customers, as well as to replace many on-premise solutions. The small catch is that the additional storage purchasing is not yet available. We'll be rolling that out to organizations and to resellers in the next few months, so please stay tuned on that. We do have a form that you can fill out if you're interested or have a customer that's interested in purchasing additional storage, so that we'll contact you as soon as it's available, but we're actively working to make this capability available as soon as possible. So in summary, I think the key takeaways from this discussion are around, look, this new functionality is really around supporting the ability to upload and share any type of files, allowing for easy collaboration, access, and search. We do have some exciting API and client solutions available on top of this. And the key message I would give to you all today on the call is that this is really an exciting first step for us in the space of cloud-attached storage and the ability to share files on in the cloud with Google Docs. We're going to be introducing some really exciting things over the coming months around ways in which people can better migrate content, they can better manage content, the way quotas can work in more of an enterprise fashion across folders and being pooled across the organization, as well as obviously things to make purchasing additional storage very easy for organizations. So this is the first step of many steps we're taking in this space, and we're excited about it. And obviously we look forward to your feedback directly, as well as what you're hearing from your customers. With that, Michelle, are there some questions here I should address?
Yep, we had a couple questions for you. I've assigned them all to you. Let me know if you see them.
Okay, so I'm just going to start from the top here. How can we purchase additional storage? I think we've discussed that. We're going to be making that available very, very soon. Is there a solution available to map a drive to my Google storage? There is the capability to build one using the API. Currently, the closest one to that is the Memio Connect product. That will let you drag and drop, as well as do sync in place. So you can pick a folder on your machine, right-click, and say, sync this to Google Docs. And I know the next version of Memio will include the ability to map a drive directly, so that within Microsoft Office, for example, you can hit File, Save, and point to a network drive, which would be the Memio application. And that'll be coming in a few months as well. So definitely a lot of things coming there very soon. Why only 1 gig of quota? Well, at this stage, this is a pretty exciting feature for us, but at the same time, this is early stages for Google getting into the space of cloud-attached storage, and we have, as you know, hundreds of millions of customers, and 1 gig of storage across hundreds of millions of customers adds up pretty quickly. We certainly have intents to scale this and provide additional value-added services, especially for our Premier customers. So I definitely say, please stay tuned on this front as we provide more capabilities and, of course, larger quotas to our customers. Max file size to upload, 250 megs or 1 gig per file. Martin obviously saw the press releases and everything else, so good catch, Martin. 250 megs was the announcement at the time of launch. That was the maximum file size. In the last week, we've actually upped that to 1 gigabyte. So it used to be the max file size was 250 megs. It's now 1 gigabyte per file. Any plans to support external version control systems? Again, can't really comment about our future plans, but I can definitely tell you that we're looking to extend our offering both through what we provide directly as Google, as well as external systems around version control and document management. So I think there's some interesting things there. But of course, we also have the APIs. So for any organizations interesting to tap into that, there's capability to do so now. Does offline work seamlessly across mail, calendar, docs, and contacts in both Free and Premier? So this is a conversation outside the scope of this discussion. I can tell you that the docs offline is different from the mail offline and so forth in terms of their capabilities. Mail, for example, being completely out of beta, whereas the docs one still being in lab. So they're relatively different solutions, but there are offline capabilities across most of those that we can certainly look at. For the upload any file feature, why doesn't it download the extension? Not quite sure I understand that question. So Val, if you're online, feel free to add to that. But if you upload a file that's a .doc, when you upload it, it'll go up as a .doc, and when you download it, it will download as a .doc. And I believe that covers it. Michelle?
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Anil, and thank you to all of our presenters Mohsen, Daniel, and Anil for taking time out to present us today. We had a lot of great questions. I hope this was helpful for everyone. We did record, and we will be posting this on the solution provider site by the end of today. So check back probably in about a few hours, and we should have it up there. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you have a great week. I feel like Anil got this question, but in the very beginning, I was feeling like we were getting a lot of brain. Some of them were not related. I don't know. I don't know. Like someone asked, like, did I hear that the pricing was $50 a user? Like, we're getting a lot of very basic questions. I don't. Well, I don't know. I felt like only partners are able to